Welcome back, folks, to the Fake Football Pundits, the show where we don't pretend to know everything like some other pundits that you know. Today is match day 3, and we had some good games, didn't we?
They were insanely good.
Yeah. And
the refereeing was worrying.
Are you talking about the England incident?
Both games.
Which one? I mean, there were 3 games.
Well, the English and the Iranian game had a couple of questionable calls, and then the US game, I did not like. The ref seemed a little too card happy for me. He struggled to bring the game into control later on because everyone was now just kind of protesting for cards and stuff.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And also, he was blowing for non-head injuries.
Yeah, I mean, you have a point. I see what you mean, definitely. But we're going to do it sequentially, right? So we're going to start with one of the biggest news that came out today, and by the end of day yesterday, actually, about the One Love armbands. So for those who are not aware, FIFA banned the One Love armbands. They cautioned that captains who would wear this armband were going to receive an automatic yellow card. And as such, all the football teams backed down of wearing this armband to support LGBTQ plus rights. What do you think about this move by FIFA and the response from the football associations around the world?
Well, this is the classic you see how the world in the West works as far as in other, you would like to call them strongly religious or conservative type of cultures. This is nothing really to do with FIFA, because if this World Cup was being held in the USA, they would easily do what they wanted to do. But the Qataris were like, no, we are not having none of this, and I'm pretty sure it was one of the conditions they probably set as the World Cup was actually being decided to be held there. And now FIFA has to bring everybody into that particular picture, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of countries and people who felt they could do what they usually do in the West.
Yeah, but I think this is quite a dirty move by Qatar, and I feel like they do it on purpose. They did the same thing with beer. I bet when they were campaigning to host the World Cup, they didn't mention anything about LGBTQ rights, how they were going to react, or about the fact that they are not going to allow beer into the stadiums, because that would have jeopardized their whole campaign.
Yeah. Well, I have no idea what happened in the back offices, or we will talk about what we saw on the field, because that I know what happened. I can't speculate, but I don't think it takes anything away from the game anyway. It's not like people are going to play better because they had these armbands versus now. So I'm still cool with the game, the way it's going.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, so apart from the armband situation, by the way, I have to say this. FIFA actually kind of made a compromise that the captains can wear official armbands from FIFA that read "No to Discrimination." So instead of it just being about LGBTQ community, it's now about discrimination in general, and I feel like that's an interesting compromise. Yet also, it doesn't seem like a compromise, because discrimination can really be anything. It reminds me of when people say, it reminds me of situations in life where if you are not very specific about the group that you're talking about, people don't really have a problem with what you say or what you think. But if you are too specific, people have a problem. For example, if you just say, I hate people, most people will be like, yeah, I get it, I understand. But if you say, I hate black people, and people will have a problem with you. So no discrimination in general, people will accept it because it can mean anything. But to a specific group, then it becomes very politically charged. Anyway, let's move on from that. The second thing that we have to talk about is the Iran national team refusing to sing the national anthem in protests for women's rights in their country. What do you think about that?
really have no particular opinion on that, to be honest. I didn't really actually know much before that, and I mean it's interesting. I, I don't like all this political stuff in sports. It just kind of feels like it takes attention from what's important, the game at that moment. So, but I don't know much. Maybe there is a real issue they were protesting for. I don't know much.
Well,
to have an opinion.
Okay, so if you weren't following the news, for those who have, there's been a lot of protests happening in Iran because of a woman who was apparently killed in Iran for something she did with her hijab, I think, and it has sparked nationwide protest in the country.
Who killed her?
Women led. Yeah, she actually did die, and women in Iran have been refusing to wear hijabs in protest, and there's been like a lot of political unrest, and the Iranian government has been cracking down on those protests, and the Iranian national team, in solidarity with the women, taking a stand, and I feel like it's a good thing, mostly just because people deserve freedom. Human beings deserve freedom. Just on that stance alone, then it can get into the religious, which I wouldn't want to get into. But in general, I applaud these lads.
You know what I'll be trying to see is if they will do the same thing the next game. We'll see.
Yeah, but apparently they were censored by Iranian television. When they were refusing to sing, I think the television in Iran cut to something else, which is insane, really.
This is a controversy-filled World Cup already.
Yeah.
Much of it is really nothing to do with the game too. So
true, which is also unfortunate at some level. Anyway, there's another thing too we have to talk about. Ronaldo. Apparently, he came out. He came out uninvited to a press conference, and he told
uninvited.
Yeah, well, the way they said it on Sky, it was almost like they were saying he get crushed the conference, and he was telling them to stop asking his teammates about him because they just want to focus on football. I actually have a quote of some of the things that he said, which personally I thought it was brilliant. I want to hear what you think about this situation. I know you, being a Messi fan, might have negative things to say about Ronaldo, but before you do, okay, so here's what he said. He said, "Stop asking my teammates about me. Ask them about the World Cup. I don't care what other people think. I speak when I want to. I am bulletproof. I am ironclad."
No, I'm iron.
It's iron suit, yeah, but he meant ironclad, I guess.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, okay, so obviously this picture is not from what we're talking about, right? Because this looks like he's actually doing a post-match.
No. It is.
That was it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think what he said makes sense. I mean, at least if he's the captain of Portugal, he wants to just, keep the controversy away from the team. So I don't see anything wrong with that. But again, we're not being specific about exactly what exactly he's talking about. So it's difficult to really have a position. But I think, in general, it's not a bad thing to say, I guess.
Yeah, well, he was being asked about the incidents that happened in the changing room, or when Bruno Fernandes was arriving, and it seems as if there was tension between him and Bruno. And
who's taking the video?
I think the part of the media for the Portuguese team. I mean, just recording video of their team arriving, I guess. And on the backdrop of Ronaldo's interview about Manchester United and Bruno being, the vice captain of Manchester United and all that stuff.
I think that was a bit messed up. Yeah, I can understand the journalist who would break that because it does help their career. But as far as you being patriotic, trying to look out for the Portuguese team, you're not really helping.
Yeah.
I would understand if it was like outside the changing rooms and it's like, oh, it's England, or English journalists trying to actually just obviously make a buck, make a career for themselves, as well as not caring whether the Portuguese team actually goes into, a state of just, whatever controversial, whatever, hissy fits and talking about the whole incident. So, but then if it's your people, it's a little.
Yeah, I'm frankly sick of this Ronaldo situation. But anyway, let's move on to actually the football games that were played today. England versus Iran. England thrashed them 6-2.
What was our prediction? It was a 3-0 prediction.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were right about the team winning. We just didn't see Iran scoring.
So what about the penalty? Was that a penalty that fell on Maguire? What do you think?
I think it was a penalty. I also think I think it was a penalty. I also think England played well. England actually looked well, but Iran is obviously not necessarily the challenge, but the team they were supposed to beat, they beat resoundingly. They could have actually scored more.
Now, this is quite interesting. Look at the goal scorers. Grealish, Rashford, Saka twice, Sterling, Bellingham, no Harry Kane. What happened?
Well, that's perfect Harry Kane. When he's not scoring, he's creating. Because if you were looking at the assists, he was there. I think he's probably one of like the ultimate, number 9s that can morph into a playmaker, a false 9. He gives you a little bit of everything. And also, it's good to see United players also playing well for the national team. Because I was actually asking some other people. You look at Maguire played well, Rashford played well, and even Sterling also played well. Like the players that are not doing well in their clubs, apparently for Southgate, they deliver.
Yeah, they did. Which is, I was actually surprised by Sterling. Me, being a Chelsea fan, I was actually thinking it's a wrong move to play Sterling given his form for Chelsea. But Chelsea in general as a football team, they've been terrible. So, they did well. The English are off to a good start. Is it too early to say it's coming home?
I think it's a little too early. Very early.
All right, next game. Senegal, Netherlands. Man, I was so disappointed. What were your impressions?
I actually was impressed. I was impressed by how they played by Senegal up to at least the 80th minute. But as far as I was impressed by them, it was much of the Dutch just not having any actual, attacking prowess and cohesion whatsoever. They had no shots on goal till like their actual first goal, if I'm not mistaken. There was really nothing to speak of. They seemed more vulnerable. And you think if Mane was in there, what was going to be the scoreline? Definitely this would have been even a lot better for Senegal to actually win. But I think the last 10 minutes were terrible from Senegal's point of view. You have what's his name? Koulibaly defending atrociously. It was shocking, to be honest. A player of his stature not showing the guy outside allows Depay to cut inside, get a shot off, and Mendy, for a player of also his stature, just put it in the path of the goal scorer. And I'm kind of just like,
it's like what I was telling you with Chelsea players. It's really, really, really embarrassing, to be honest. But I'd hoped, like, the only African team that I'm thinking can actually mount some sort of triumph here is Senegal, and they're off to a really terrible start.
I didn't have much faith in them because of Mane not being there.
Do you think he would have made a big difference? Yeah, I think he would have. Really.
You're talking of the runner-up to the Ballon d'Or, right? I mean,
yeah, Mane always delivers.
Yeah. No, Mane is he's really one of those people. Besides just him, because most of those players, if you've even looked at the World Cup, most national teams, their talisman, they bring more than just what they actually do. Just them merely being on the field can really take a team from being good to what happened. I mean, check Neymar in 2014 World Cup. Brazil was not really superb, but when Neymar was in there, they seemed to be a cohesion. They seemed to be a direction. You take him out, 7,
and they fell apart.
Yeah, so I think it does play a part. It's almost like Pulisic not being in that US team. it will really just look ugly from there. Same as well.
By the way, what was our prediction for that game, Senegal and
The
Netherlands?
Senegal game, I think it was actually 2-0.
For who?
We'll have to actually go for Netherlands.
Oh, okay.
I
So
think we
good
would
that
actually
we're
have to
right.
go back and I actually not remember, but I think it was 2-0. We did have Senegal losing. I don't remember by how much, but I think it was 2. It was supposed to be 2.
Okay. Let's move on to the last game. Wales versus the United States. I think this one is a good game. What were your impressions?
It was. This game was US's game to lose, to be honest. They looked like the team that was very organized defending, especially the first half. The intensity was off the chart. They were closing down Wales every time they lost the ball very quick. And they actually created some chances. I really thought as the game progressed on, you would get, more sparks of brilliance from Pulisic. And the second half came and it really just kind of died down. That intensity was gone.
Exactly. I wanted also to mention something about the intensity. They lost their momentum. Then they couldn't keep up the intensity for the whole game, which is something that you cannot do in this kind of games. And if you can't just go full or in for 45 minutes and try to relax the other 45, it doesn't work that way. It's better to pace yourselves to have moments of intensity and moments of recuperation rather than Klopp's teams, at least the Liverpool of the past 3 years, is the kind of team that would be intense for the entire 90 minutes, but not many teams can do that. And towards the end, you could see even, I'm thinking even on a fitness level, that United States team didn't look up there because they kept on getting injuries, getting these kind of knocks. The game was very physical, that I admit, but the second half really it was disappointing from them. If they had kept up what they were doing the first half, they could have nicked the whole 3 points here.
The game was physical, I guess, like any World Cup game would be, but the referee was very soft. The cards he kept giving were kind of like any other ref would probably kind of just have a word or would have had a word and just let play go on. But I think also I don't think the US is not necessarily as fit. In football it happens when you don't manage your energy well. There's difference between game fitness and actual fitness from outside. You don't manage the way you run around and all that. You could be gassed out in 20 minutes, you could be gassed out in 30 minutes. It happens.
Yeah, that's true.
But they just they couldn't, and I knew it would take just one chance of the players of Wales caliber to either actually just win the game for Wales. And to be honest, I'm really happy for them. The passion they showed was really good. Just for neutral, it was really good to look at.
Yeah, and I think Bale could have actually nicked a last-minute goal when the goalkeeper was off his line and he was fouled before he shot. That was a goal-saving tackle because he was going to lay that straight into the back of the net.
Bale is technically there. If there are players you would put your money on to put that in the back of the net from halfway, Bale is one of those.
Yeah, I could see his left foot was cocked to take that long shot.
That was a smart foul, and that I can understand. But I think the US right now, as things stand, because obviously you have the table here, the US and Wales are fighting for the second position, which we know Iran is always going to lose to all these three teams anyway. What would be your prediction?
Do you think any of these teams can actually beat England, Wales, and the United States?
No.
Really? Because, man, I mean,
did you see the depth in that English team?
No, they do have depth, but man, they played against a very terrible team. Honestly, it's hard to judge how good they are based on the Iranian game. We all know they have depth. That's not a new thing, but it's to say that. We'll see. I mean, that's why we love football. That's why we love the game, the drama, the anticipation.
I'll tell you one name that really made the difference for England, or at least that took England from whatever England has been before to even a better team this World Cup. Bellingham. That kid was running the show.
Yeah.
And I think it's just gonna probably look up from here. If they're able to maintain that and they get chemistry as the tournament progresses, it's gonna be good.
Another honorable mention, Tyler Adams. Yeah, that kid was running the show. At 23, captaining that side, he is doing. It was an amazing game that he put in. Amazing game.
And a lot of people are wondering, where the goal scorer? That's the son of the president
of Liberia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, George Weah, the only African Ballon d'Or winner.
The Ballon d'Or. Yeah, and his kid plays for America, and he looks like a decent shout, to be honest. Got the first goal for the team, and I would say he had an okay game. Really had an okay game. Almost had another assist for the own goal too.
I mean, the first half the United States was on fire. If they would play like that against England, they might nick it.
Well, so the way America is playing right now, if you're going to be as intense the first 45, at least be up by 2 goals by the halftime.
Yeah. So that you can sit back.
At least aces the game and you kind of relax.
And the other thing too, I mean, if you look at the foul on Bell that led to that penalty, you can't be rushed like that at that time as a center forward. That's an amateurish foul. You have to cool down. That was an amateur kind of foul. You don't do that.
Well, I can understand him doing that. I mean, we've already spoken of other defenders who are, top class, making amateur.
You lose concentration. You are tired. You're not mentally there anymore. It happens.
And also the adrenaline of the World Cup.
True.
Gets to you.
Anyway, I think we will stop the video right now. If you're enjoying our, fake punditry, we encourage you to subscribe, like, leave a comment. We never claimed to be experts, but we love the game, and we know that you do too. The support will do a lot of good for our little project here. So,
you think we need to send a petition to ESPN? Just have people just pass it around.
Yeah. Maybe our goal, like we always say at the end of every video, is to replace Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher on Sky.
I need to get me a suit, like for the first day on ESPN or something.
Yeah. It's going to happen very soon. Anyway,
nice haircut.
Catch you later, guys.
Thanks, guys.